Hello everybody and welcome to a little book haul of sorts. Not even of sorts, it is a book haul. Why am I even questioning? So I'm in the process of packing and doing laundry because I'm going on a camping trip with my dad and my brothers. This is sort of a thing we do every year. My dad just takes my brothers and I. We go camping in the mountains for like a couple days and we kayak and we just do things, which of course means I need to take some books. And I realized, I was like, I have all these books I haven't shown off that I've gotten over a long stretch of time. I did do one little random book outlet haul, but I've kind of like accumulated other things after that randomly. Yeah, and there were probably some that I showed off at some point for my booktubeathon little progress thing. Speaking of booktubeathon, after I filmed that video, the only thing I did was finish Tatiana and Alexander, and then I read like one page of The Summer Garden, and then I made a movie. I was taking part in my city's 48-hour film project. I will definitely have a video about that coming up. But yeah, so booktubeathon was sort of after that video a total fail. Didn't finish a series. But yes, the books, the hauling. Let's get to the books and the hauling. During booktubeathon, I placed an order with the Book Depository because certain books on there were all 10% off, which I thought was really cool, and I was also getting something else while I was at it. So I ordered Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins, which I sat down and read last night. It was so beautiful. I will have to do a review on this because it was so cute, and I haven't read a book in this style that I've enjoyed probably since I read Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight and Fangirl. So then I also ordered Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This is the paperback. And I also just really like this cover. There's something about it. I was really drawn to the lines and the silhouettes and whatever, so I really wanted this paperback, and I was really excited when I saw it was up there. And I'm taking this camping with me because I think I'll be able to read it in the evening when I'm trying to wind down, and it'll be fun to read. The last book I ordered off the Book Depository is actually one that I've already read before, but I read it by listening to it, so I really wanted to have a copy of it. And I was also very particular, I wanted the UK cover of it, and that is The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, which is the pseudonym for J.K. Rowling. The US cover, I don't necessarily think the US cover is bad per se. It's really not that bad, actually. But The Silkworm, the second book in this mystery series of Cormoran Strike that just came out, in the US has the same cover as the UK, just with different font. The font matches the first cover, but the first cover does not match the second one in terms of aesthetic and style, and I want them to match. So I ordered this in the UK paperback, and I also ordered the UK paperback of The Silkworm, though that hasn't come in yet. Next I have Possessed by Nikki Valentine. I've actually already done a review on this. I had it on my Kindle, but I really wanted just a paper version of it, and so I just ordered it to come in, little paperback. This is also a UK paperback, though I hadn't realized that when I ordered it because it's still in pounds on the back. This is really good. It has this little button, which isn't a sticker, and I was really hoping it was, but it's not. It says, if you enjoyed Black Swan, you'll love this novel, and totally true. If you like the film Black Swan, you should definitely read Possessed by Nikki Valentine. It's really good, pretty creepy thriller. And yet another book that I've already read before, but never actually owned a copy of, not even on my Kindle, and that is Casino Royale by Ian Fleming. This was the first ever James Bond book, and it is really short. I don't even think it's 200 pages. It's not. I remember reading this for school because it was in a film adaptations class I took, and we read this and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and then we watched the more recent film adaptations of both. And I was like, why don't I own Casino Royale? I need to own Casino Royale. So now I have it. May I also state that I think James Bond is a terrible spy. Like, 99% of the problems he encounters probably could be avoided if he just like did not tell everyone his name. I love him, but sometimes I think he's pretty stupid. More recently, I picked up the other book that I'm taking on camping with me, and that is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, the final book in this All Souls trilogy. The Book of Life just came out, and I've been told for a while I should read this, but I was always really hesitant. Not because I don't like witches. Actually, I tend to enjoy witches and the paranormal and the fantastical in my novels. obviously, but somebody had told me it was romance, and so I was under this impression it was literally just this romantic novel that had some paranormal witchery in it, and I was just like, But then I talked to one of my coworkers who has read this, and she had the third book. She goes, actually, there's a lot of history in this, because, and I did not know this, apparently Ms. Harkness is like a history professor, or she's got like a degree in history, so there's a lot of medieval history and the history of witchcraft and medieval witch hunts and stuff in here, which I find fascinating. I did a lot of research on that in high school at one point for some projects, so that's actually something I found really interesting, and I went, oh, so it's more historical. Oh, then I'll definitely read it. Why not? My next two books are my only hardcovers because I had to have them. And the first is Marina by Carlos Zefon, obviously, who wrote the Cemetery of Forgotten Books series. This is his latest YA novel. I had not realized he has actually written for YA before. I'm gonna have to check those out at some point. But I saw this baby on the shelf and I was like, come to me, you are mine. I will have you. It's about a boy who for 1 week just disappears without a trace, and nobody knows where he went, what he did, and when he came back he told, you know, the adults, as he says, what they wanted to hear, but it's clear something happened during that week, and this is his story. This is him telling you what led to the events of that week, what happened during that week, and the aftermath, and it clearly has something to do with a young girl named Marina. What I also love is that, as always, this is set in Barcelona, so I'm ready to return to Mr. Zefon's Barcelona. Next, I have a new release that I'm also really excited about. It's an adult fantasy book, and it is The Queen of the Tearling. I'm honestly not sure if it's Tearling or Tearling. If somebody knows, let me know. Yes, this is by Erica Johansson. I had already had my eye on this and that I really wanted to read it, but then I read this really phenomenal article that Ms. Johansson wrote on why we need ugly heroines, and there was something with the way that she wrote it. I said, I really want to read your book now. And finally, the last thing I have to haul is something I'm so excited about, and I'm at some point going to have to do a video on this topic. It's manga. I've never shown any manga on here, and I've probably never even really referenced manga or anime that much, but I love it. And Barnes & Noble, until some point in August, so within the next like week or two, is having a massive sale on Viz Media manga. I don't normally buy manga because it has to have a really high reread value for me, or else I'm not going to want it because I'm going to read it in like 5 to 10 minutes and that's it. But this is a series, it's one of my favorite series of all time, both for manga and anime, and I was like, I have to have it. I have to have it. And I found a way to get it without completely blowing a budget. And that is these 3-in-1 bind-ups of the classic, totally awesome manga series of FULLMETAL ALCHEMIST. So I was able to get volumes 1 to 12 and 16 to 24. I'm still waiting on the one bind-up of 13 to 15, and the bind-up of 25 to 27 is not out until November. I'm totally fine waiting for that. Here's the first. So this contains volumes 1, 2, and 3, only one book, and it's $14.99. So a usual volume of manga is going to cost you probably around $9.99, maybe $12.99 for some. Like, I know the manga Black Lagoon, which I was considering getting, is $12.99 per volume, and it's not a bind-up, it's one volume, and I was like, oh, too much. So I'm getting 3 for less than the price of 2. And then with buy 2, get the third free, I'm basically getting 9 volumes of manga for less than the price of 3 single volumes of manga. Why would you not take advantage of that? I know, right? I know, right? So FULLMETAL ALCHEMIST is the story of Edward and Alphonse Elric, who are both disabled in a way. Edward has a metal arm and leg, and Alphonse is literally just a soul trapped in this suit of armor, and at first you don't know why this has happened to them. It's revealed over the course of, I think, somewhere between volumes 1 and volume 6, you find out what happened to them and sort of why they did it, why they ended up the way they are. But it's the story of them trying to figure out how to get their real bodies back in the midst of a massive, like, war and conflict in their, like, pseudo-Germanic European kind of city nation. This is one of the most epic story series I have ever seen. Like, seriously, I can't even explain. 27 volumes of pure epic. It's a definite urban fantasy of sorts. Like, it is a kind of a genre breaker in a way at a lot of times, and it is also very dark. Not dark in like Attack on Titan dark, because if you're familiar with Attack on Titan, that is an extremely dark, very violent series. This series is violent, but it's often dark emotionally more than anything else. When I first went into Full Metal Alchemist years ago, I wasn't really sure how much I was gonna like it. I read the first volume and I liked it, but I wasn't like totally sold. And then I got to volume 2. There is something that happens within the course of volume 2 which still stands for me as one of the most emotionally intense and graphic moments I've ever experienced in reading something. Not in that it's 100% incredibly violent, but it is so dark and so bleak and just gut-wrenching. I remember just reading it and feeling sick and upset, but not in like a bad way, in that more in like an, okay, you've sold me. I see how far you're willing to go and what you're going to be doing with the rest of this series for however long it is. It wasn't finished at the time when I started reading it. So if you read volume 1 and you're not too sure, read volume 2. You'll probably know the event I'm talking about, but if you don't, I'm just going to say it's a dad, a daughter, and a dog. And like, that's all you need to know, because I'm not going to go any further, or else I'm just, ooh. But yeah, just oh my goodness. Full Metal Alchemist. Oh, goodness, so good if you guys haven't read this yet, especially if you're into fantasy. Okay, so that's my haul. I'm not gonna hold up these books just because the volumes of Full Metal Alchemist alone would just make this stack way too high and way too dangerous. But yes, I'm going to go camping and I'm going to be reading Vicious and A Discovery of Witches, and hopefully I like both of them. But that's all for me today, you guys, and so until next time, cheers.